Welcome friends. My last video was related to project demonstration which we did in the web service class on 26 January 2016. The video covered about how to import a database into MySQL database by using MySQL or MySQL Workbench Server 6.2. So what I've done, I provided my portfolio database on Blackboard. So the db_dump.sql file was available on Blackboard. I believe all of you must have downloaded that file and must have followed my video in order to import that MySQL database into your MySQL server by using MySQL Workbench 6.2. So if you were successful in doing it, you have your portfolio schema, database schema ready. The database schema name is portfolio and 4 tables must have been imported from this dump file, dump.sql file. So your portfolio database schema must be now having 4 tables: university, student, publication, and author. Once you've done that, and if you were successful, then you can go to step 2 now. My step 2 will cover in continuation to the class project demonstration. In step 2, I'll show you how to build the RESTful Java web service by using NetBeans IDE 8.0.2. NetBeans IDE 8.0.2 first of all needs to know where your database is. Needs to access your database object like the tables. How can it do it? Of course, you need to inform NetBeans about the database location, the schema you're going to work with, and then in your project, you can use the database connection. So first thing we are going to do is, we are going to build up a database connection. So just open a NetBeans IDE 8.0.2. Once it is open, on the left hand side, there is a services tab. If it is not open, you can go to Windows and select services. So this tab would be open. Right click upon the database option, create a new connection. Blah, and the new connection wizard is open. First thing what we are going to do is locate the driver. So who is going to communicate? MySQL database and the Java application. So we require an appropriate driver. Right? There are 4 types of Java drivers. Type 1, type 2, type 3, type 4. Type 4 driver normally, specifically, which allows Java application to connect with MySQL database is called MySQL connector/J driver. I already have this MySQL connector/J driver available, so I'm going to select it. If you don't have it, then I will put the help on the blog for how to install this driver. Correct? Let's assume today we have this driver, MySQL connector/J driver. After doing this, click upon the next button. And there it is. It allows you to customize your connection. The driver name, MySQL connector/J driver. Of course, now you are going to provide your host name, as my MySQL database server is residing here on my computer, on the same computer where I am going to build my application. So the host name would be localhost. But if it is residing on a remote computer, then I need to provide the fully qualified domain name of that server. That is the host name of that server where the database is residing or the database server is running. As it is here on my same computer, I'll give the host name as localhost. Mostly MySQL database servers listen on TCP port number 3306 for incoming connection requests. So if you have not changed the port number during installation of MySQL server, MySQL Workbench, then it's going to be the same, 3306. So keep it the same. Then we are going to give the database. What was the name of my database schema? Portfolio, the one which you imported into MySQL Workbench. The database schema name is portfolio. Don't make typo mistakes. You have to give the same database name. The same database schema was created in your MySQL Workbench server. So you have to provide that same database name here called portfolio. The username which you created while installing the MySQL server, Workbench server, the same username you have to use it here. So my username is root. I'll just provide my password, the same password which you are using in order to start your MySQL Workbench server. The same username and password you have to use here. You can select the checkbox to remember the password, so next time it's not going to ask to you. And then important thing is test the connection. Okay, and the connection is succeeded. Great job, and let's next go to the next phase. Click upon the next button. Skip this choice of the database schema because we already selected the schema portfolio. So we're going to skip this step, click the next. And of course, this is going to be my connection name. No changes here. The name we are not going to change. Click finish. There we go. In the services, underneath the databases, you can see the portfolio database connection which is created. And if you can see here, this icon is not broken, so it means its connection is active. You right click upon the connection and it shows you the disconnect option. If it is disconnected, then you have to connect it. Right now it is already connected with the database. So the connection is established with the database, MySQL database server. So it's all ready and set. So the first thing for building the RESTful Java Web Service by using NetBeans IDE 8.0.2, the first thing what we had to do is create a database connection. That's what we did. And we are ready, all set now. So let's create our first project, a Java web application. And then we are going to create a RESTful Java Web Services. So click upon the project tab, go to file, create a new project. It will open the new project dialog window. Okay. Sorry. In categories, select Java Web. When you click upon it, it will give the project option web application. Select web application. It creates an empty web application for you. Click next. Give the name student portfolio web. So this is my web system. So I'm giving the name student portfolio web. Click next. Then it says servers and settings. We are going to deploy our web application on the Glassfish server. It's an application server. So I believe all of you have the Glassfish server. We are assuming that you have the Glassfish server. If you don't have the Glassfish server, you can always add it separately. For that, if anybody has a problem, I'll share that separate video for you, how to add the Glassfish server. Then we have the Java Enterprise Edition 7 Web, the Java Enterprise Edition version, which we are going to use. You can use 6 and above, such that Java Enterprise Edition 6 and above supports RESTful Java Web Services. So we are going to use 7, and the latest 8 is available probably. So once we are done this, the context path would be student portfolio web. Correct? I believe in the class I was talking about uniform resource identifiers, and I talked about that your URI has the protocol, then the location of the resource, that is the server name, fully qualified domain name, / you have the context root. So this would be there in your URI. And after this, you will have the resource. So just on the sideline of what we were doing, I thought I'll correlate this part with the URI. So in your URI path, this context path would exist as one of the component. So in your entire URI, when you have the protocol, the location, then you have the context path, and then you have the resource type and the resource ID, the 5 components are there. So this name is going to be there in your URI. Then you click upon next. And you don't have to select any frameworks today because our concentration is not developing the full-fledged web application, but we are only concentrating to understand how to create RESTful Java web services. So we are going to skip the frameworks and we finish the job. And it's already existing. So if you can see, the student portfolio web is already created. Awesome. Click upon that plus button, it expands it. You can close this index.html page. Once it is ready, now you right click upon it and you say new, and you are going to create entity classes from database first of all. So your database tables will build this entity classes from the database tables. So if your database table is student, you will have an entity class, Java class, student.java created in your web application. So we are going to select all those database entities from which we want to create the entity Java classes. So when you go to new, you can go to other. You can then, this dialog box opens. In the categories, you select persistence and you say entity classes from database. It creates Java persistent API entity classes based on existing relational database. Entity classes are used to represent objects whose lifespan is longer than a typical program execution. So it's going to persist for future use. Those objects would be stored into the database and will be used later on also. This template creates an entity class for each selected table, completes it with a named query and notations, fields representing columns, and relationships representing foreign keys. So this is what would be done automatically for you when you create entity classes from database. Next, we are all set. It tells you to select the database source. The data source, our name is kind of portfolio, right? That's our database schema name, and that's the database connection name which we gave here to NetBeans IDE. We create this database connection with NetBeans IDE and we gave the data source name, the connection name as portfolio. So what we did is from the data source list, select portfolio, and then you have to simply give your password again. This is the MySQL Workbench Server password. Select the remember option, click OK. There you go. Oops, I think I selected the wrong one. Sorry, I think you need to create a new data source here. So I'll cancel that step. Let's roll back again. Okay, you're going to create a new data source. And because this is the first time we had a database connection ready, but the database connection may have various sources of data, various schemas. So we are going to select a new database source. When you click upon new data source, it opens up this dialog box. It asks you for the database connection. I think our database connection was portfolio. You select the database connection option which says JDBC MySQL localhost, the port number / portfolio. There it is. Portfolio is my database. You select portfolio and you give the name here for the JNDI name. That would be my data source name now. I'll give the name as my portfolio data source, correct? So I can distinguish between the database connection and the data source. Once I click upon it, my data source name is my portfolio data source. It is already retrieved the 4 tables. I can click upon add all button and add all the selected tables. Don't forget to select this include related table option so that even if you select one table, it will retrieve all the related tables and will add accordingly. So now these 4 tables are selected. It will create the entity classes for these 4 tables. We click upon next. You can see here, this dialog window shows details about the entity classes which are going to be created. It says specify the names and the location of the entity classes. My database table name is author, publication, student. Let's see, and the 4th one is university. Let's see the student database. The class name would be student, and it is a new means the class would be created. It's a new class which would be created. The project name remains the same. The location would be source packages. I'll provide the package name here as, say, entity. Normally it is preferable to give the reverse domain name of your company or organization as the package name. So if my company name is Florida Atlantic University, and if my domain name is fau.edu, then for giving a package name, I should normally use edu.fau.entity. That would be the appropriate package name so that it will remain unique. So normally, let's see, we are doing it for a new school university. So our domain name is NSUNI, as for example. So we say NSUNI example.edu. So I'll reverse the domain name NSUNI example.edu. I'll give the package name edu.nsuniexample. Or let's keep it short. We'll keep it edu.ns new school university. This is just a simple example. .entity. Okay. Once you're done this, we have created persistent unit. It will create a persistent unit. It will create JXP notations. It will create named query and notations as well in the entity classes. And then we click next. We don't change anything in this mapping options. We finish the job. And it will create 4 entity classes for us. It will take a while to generate the 4 classes. Once it is ready, generated, come back to the project tab in the left panel. Expand your project, expand source packages. In that we have our package edu.usuni.entity. And underneath that we have the 4 entity classes. Then yes, it's ready. University student.java, publication.java, and author.java. These are the entity classes which are created. So these are our 4 resources which are available now. Now for these resources, we are going to create our RESTful Java web service and allow various operations to be conducted on these resources. This access we are going to provide to the client applications, so that they can invoke this RESTful web service and can manipulate these resources by performing various CRUD operations on these resources like create, read, update, and delete. So after creating these entity classes, the next step, big step, and the most simple is to create the RESTful web services. So again, select your project name, right click upon it, go to new, go to other, and again, there would be in categories, we have web services. In the file type box, select the option which says RESTful web services from entity classes. This option does what? It creates RESTful web services from a set of entity classes. Click next. Okay, that's it. We have all our 4 entity classes. We are going to select all 4 and add all. After adding all the entity classes, click next. It says the generated classes would be in this project. Location is source packages, and my resource package name, I told you, the reverse domain name of your company. So this is, we'll take the sample example, edu.nsuni.service. So these are going to be the web service classes, the RESTful web service classes, which would be located in the Java package, where the package name is edu.nsuni.service. This package is like a collection, a folder where logically your classes would be grouped together, which are placed in the same package. Also physically, they will be residing in the same folder. So we have given the name edu.nsuni.service as the resource package. Finish the job, friends. And yes, your RESTful web services are ready. Correct? It will create the web service classes, the RESTful web service classes. It will generate the RESTful web services for you. It will deploy your application next, right? So after creating this, you please wait, keep some patience. It will take some time to generate the RESTful web services for you. And if everything is successful, we are going to build the application and deploy it on Glassfish server. Yes, you can see it's done. If you come back to the project, under source packages, expand the service package, and you'll find your university facade REST, student facade REST, publication, author. These are the 4 service classes. So normally this service classes has the, suppose this is the student REST web service class, which has the various Java methods which allows the CRUD operations on the student resource. Operations, Java methods called create, edit, remove, and find, which allows you to perform the CRUD operation on the student resource. So similarly, in source packages, we have the source programs, and the RESTful web services, the .class files are created here. So we have the RESTful web services ready. 4 RESTful web services are ready. The student RESTful web service. See the name of the student RESTful web service, edu.usuni.ntt.student. This is the resource type. This one, publication.facadREST. The name is edu.usuni.ntt.publication. So this is the 4 resource types which are available with our student portfolio web application. Now, final step left, our RESTful web service is created. We have to build the application now. So go to the project name, right click upon it, build it. So it's going to take a while because it's going to deploy the application. Click the output window where you can see the result of it. If this output window is, I can drag and place it here. So it will show you the complete log of the activity which is being happening. If you can see if the build is successful, great. Now you can deploy it. So it generated all the class files for you. You right click and upon the project name and finally deploy it on Glassfish server. So it's going to take a while. It will start the Glassfish server for you and will deploy the application on the Glassfish server. It's going to take some couple of minutes more. In the meantime, while it's generating, let's see the student web service class. You can see the student web service class. The class name is student. It is related to the table called student. It has 4 fields. Class has 4 fields called student ID, which is related to the table column called student ID. Second field is first name. It is related to the table first name. Third field is last name. It's also related to the column last name. And finally, we have the mobile number. And for each field, we have a assessor and a mutator method. Because these fields are private, their values cannot be read directly. You can read the value by calling its corresponding get method, or you can change its value by calling its corresponding set method. So this is like the student entity class. Let's see the service class now. In the service class, the student service class, the name is student facade REST. what is the path, how to access this. After your this path is relative to the domain name and context path of your application. After that, this name represents the resource type name. So the at path and notation, whenever in your URI this resource type is mentioned, then the instance of the following class would be created. That is called student facade. So this student facade REST web service class has 4 operations. Create, this is a Java method which allows creation of the student resource. Edit, which allows you to update the student resource. Remove, which allows you to delete the student resource. And find, which allows you to get the student resource. So all your heterogeneous apps or clients are going to invoke this student RESTful web service by sending the corresponding URI. In the URI, the resource type name would be this: edu.usuni.entity.student. In front of the URI, if it says it's a GET request, then the find method from the student facade REST class, from this class, the find method would be called, because the client has invoked the GET method, and the find method, Java method, has a @get annotation. So directly this annotations allows you to link the HTTP GET method to this Java method. So each client will call the web service, like it wants to access the student resource. So it will invoke the student RESTful Java web service. It will give its URI, and as it wants to get the student resource, the HTTP method would be GET. When this HTTP GET request with the URI is received, normally the URI will have a resource type student, as shown here. So this class would be, instance would be created. And then, as the client had given a GET request, so the find method would be called. And the student resource would be created, would be found from the database, and would be returned back to the client as a HTTP response. So you understood the working of this service class and the entity class. Okay, ready. I think our application student portfolio web was successfully deployed. We are all set. We are ready. Our RESTful Java web service is created, and now we have exposed our 4 resources called author, publication, student, and university to the outside world. Other applications can invoke it without knowing the internal implementations of our system. Finally, we are going to run and test our RESTful web service. So you can see in my project tab, expanded, in RESTful web service, there is my student facade REST. Right click upon it and it says test resource URI. Click upon it. And it will allow you to test this RESTful web service. It will just generate a HTTP GET request and send it to our RESTful web service. So what it does, we are just testing that RESTful web service. It's executing, it's opening the browser, and there you can see the URI is created, right? The URI is created. Let's dissect this URI. HTTP is the protocol. By default, it's our GET request, HTTP GET request. So HTTP is the protocol. localhost colon 80 is my server's location. Student portfolio web is my context path, because on this web server I can have number of applications running or deployed. So which application we are related to it, the context path is mentioned here, student portfolio web slash web resources. And then, so this is the complete URI path. Then we have the resource type. The resource name is edu.usuni.ntd.student. And after that, we can mention the resource ID, so Z233095887. So this is the complete URI path. We click enter and it retrieves you the student record in XML format and returns to the web client. Here our web client is the browser. The browser had generated the HTTP GET request and had sent to this URI, the URI which is shown here. So when this URI was received by our web server, it first of all checked, okay, which is the resource which is invoked. The resource is student. So it will find the corresponding student facade REST class, which is this one, the web service class. The web service class, right? So that is done. It found the class, corresponding class where the Java method is residing. And then it checks, okay, what is it doing? It's a GET request. And there is an ID which is being passed here, a resource ID. So it does what? It will immediately find the Java method which has a @get annotation. Yes, it found the get annotation and will call this find method, will pass the parameter ID to it, and whatever student record is fetched from the database, its XML representation would be produced because the client had requested the data in XML, and will send the resource representation, student resource representation in XML format back to the web client. And that data would be sent as a HTTP response message. And the response message will have a resource representation in XML format. And that is what the XML was displayed by the web client to us. We all understood this. So we tested the RESTful web service. Now the clients can just parse this XML and can use the data and can display it or can store it into their database, can use it as per the need. By this presentation, I have demonstrated how to integrate heterogeneous applications by invoking RESTful web services. We learned how to create RESTful Java web service. We learned what are entity classes. We learned what is Java web service class, which is created. We learned the structure of the entity class, the structure of Java web service class, and we understood how to test this RESTful Java web service. Thank you, friends. The next video which will follow is how to build up another JavaScript client which will invoke the same service, the RESTful Java web service, the 4 RESTful Java web service which we have created. The next video will show you how to invoke these 4 RESTful Java web service through the JavaScript client. Thank you very much. Any questions you can post on the blog.